You're listening to the Discussing the Resilient podcast, hosted by Aidan Smalling and William Reid, a competitive 40k podcast for the servants of Nurgle and the fallen 14th Legion. Tactics, meta-analysis, and all things Death Guard.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Discussing the Resilient podcast. This time it's just me, it's just Will, recapping a recent event that me and Aidan both attended. Aidan's going to be recapping his games via a live stream, and the event we both attended was the Leicester Super Major here in the UK. We both had solid runs. Aidan, of course, had the better of the two of us, but out of the event, of all the Death Guard players, Aidan was the one who came first and I came second. Aidan went 4-0, only losing to the eventual winner of the event, and he did go through some players to get there as well, but I won't steal his thunder. I'll let him break that down his own time. But I also had a solid run. Took the same list that I've been running at the RTTs, the ones mentioned in this previous series. This is the fourth episode in the Poxwalker Plague Marine series, where I focus specifically on my games, but focusing on mistakes, things that went wrong, things that I would have done differently, maybe some things that I'm not sure if I did right. There could have been a different way to approach the game, taking into account feedback from my opponents and things like that. Without further ado, I went 3-1-1, so I drew a game, won 3 and lost 1. Now I run through the games individually, and we'll talk through them and talk about the things that I feel I did well, the things I feel I did badly, as I mentioned, and I've got some notes and also some thoughts on some list changes. Now I'm getting this episode out now. It might be a little bit short, this one, because I'm actually playing another GT this weekend, playing the Lords of War GT in Bolton. I wouldn't normally do back-to-back GTs, but Leicester was a good one. Good group of us went down, we had a lot of fun. And the other one is an event series where I'm personal friends with the organisers, and I like to sort of support them and try and play at their events if possible. So with them just having a week separation, it turned out that I'm doing back-to-back GTs. So I'm going to try and get this one out quite quickly. So obviously there'll likely be another episode following where I talk about my games at the WAR GT. But I suppose the best thing is I'll just recap on the list for the people who maybe listened to this for the first time. So Aidan describes this list as a meme, and I suppose he's not wrong, to be fair. It's something that I started because we started the season. I did particularly badly at an RTT. It was my first RTT of 10th where I'd sort of played all the games. I had been to a Super Major before then, because I bought a ticket a long time ago, but it was at a point where Death Guard weren't doing very well, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really feeling the faction, so I decided I was just going to play the first day, took Chaos Nights, and just had a bit of fun and treat it more as a kind of drinking day, catch up with friends and stuff. But since sort of taking Death Guard seriously, the first event I did go to, I made some howlers, got talked about it on the very first one of this series, so go back, because obviously the idea of this podcast is it's hopefully some evergreen content where obviously it's meta dependent, like all the stuff, things do change, but because I'm trying to talk about rules and mistakes, these mistakes, mistakes anyone can make any time, although better players, of course, probably listen to some of the mistakes and think I'm a complete idiot. How could you even do something as stupid as that? But it's the point of the podcast. Obviously not everyone's kind of at that elite level of player, myself included, so it's a good chance to sort of focus on the things, and hopefully I've made the mistakes, people can learn from them and perhaps avoid them in their own games. So recapping on the list, as I say, it's a threat rush idea. The idea was it's Mortarion, 3 Night Carnivores, 3 Predator Destructors, 30 Plague Marines, split over 4 squads of 5 and 1 squad of 10, 2 foot characters, which is the Foul Blight Spawn and Biologist Putrefier, 2 Rhinos, 2 squads of Nurglings, and 1 squad of Cultists. So that's the list, as I say, as you can probably guess by how it sounds. It kind of rushes at people and to sort of tries to catch them off guard. Or the other thing that it does is, the more I play it's a bit of a denial list. Obviously it does give away Bring It Down, of course, but it kind of sucks up the primary. So The idea is, as long as I'm scoring well on my secondaries, if they're bring it down, doesn't matter if I'm winning on the primary, and that's kind of how it's played out. I have missed having plague burst crawlers though, which is one of the things that I know everyone runs. It makes the list kind of very linear at times, although it's got a lot of speed in it, a lot more speed than the average Death Guard unit has, because the carnivores and things move from 14 inches, and the range on the predators is why they're in there as well. Because it means I can sort of touch parts of the board that a plague burst crawler can't with any of the guns other than its mortar, and obviously fills that anti-tank hole as well. So primarily the list works where Morty goes out first. He kind of forces people to sort of put something into the channel where he is. Channel being like the line of sight, like the firing lane. Because he's got OC6, it kind of means chaff units can't really take the primary off him 9 out of 10 times. And because he's a big tough boy, he's hits like a wet noodle in combat. Unfortunately, there are times when he's good at finishing stuff off if something's been chipped away by the predators, or maybe certain targets, maybe it's like say a rhino or something like Morty should hopefully take that. Although, as we'll find in one of the games, Morty struggles to even kill softer targets like that. So the idea is Morty goes out first, whatever goes in the channel, the predators kind of sit behind, waiting for whatever comes out to get line of sight on Morty, to get line of sight on them, because they do hit quite hard, even though they are made of paper, and they are good for their points. So the predators do that, and also the carnivores kind of they back up the plague marines, or sometimes the carnivores kind of attack a flank, or wait behind cover, waiting for, say they've got a big combat unit that could hurt Morty in combat, waiting for them to throw that combat unit out to sort of try and tussle with Morty, and the carnivores go and hit it in response, because the carnivores, of course, hit twice as hard as Morty in combat, although they are a lot more fragile on the slap back than Morty is. So Morty's kind of integral to this particular build. Morty kind of is, he's not the linchpin, but he's what gets things moving, and there was games where he certainly was key and helped me sort of pull out a win. There was other games where he again was as disappointing as you could want him to be, but on the whole, I particularly enjoyed playing with him. Now, as I mentioned, obviously we're not even 10 minutes in yet, but I'll recap. So I've made some changes to the list to bolt him, partly because I sort of mentioned on a previous podcast, I think when we had Quinton on, and we're talking about Liam VSL's list, which I am a big fan of. I'm already running Knights. I had tried the Brigands already in a different build with Plague Burst Crawlers. Just it had been a bit more of a sort of like a lot heavier skew towards vehicles. And since I put more Plague Marines in, I think I put that list in or something very close to it, and sort of thought, well, it's all a bit too obvious. It can't be that straightforward. So started changing things and chopping things and dropping things out. And I think the fact that list has done really well just shows how good it is sometimes just go with your first thought. But the list I've changed, I'll explain my changes to this list at the end. So if you stay tuned for that and why I've done it, I won't haven't gone too far off the build archetype, but there's things I wanted to test. I see people doing well with Land Raiders. I have missed having Plague Burst Crawlers. So I've put some Plague Burst Crawlers in, some Land Raider, not multiple Land Raiders, a single one, and I've sort of chopped and changed the Plague Marines around a little bit as well. The terrain of this event at Bolton is a little bit different, so I'll explain that at the end when we talk about the list changes. But for everyone in the UK, UKTC is follows like a very sort of fixed format in terms of the maps and things. I'm sure anyone who's been to the events knows exactly what I'm talking about, and anyone who's not in the UK who's curious to see the maps can go on the UKTC UK Tournament Circuit is what the UKTC stands for, by the way, website. Sometimes you need to put UKTC 40k for it to come up, because I think there's a couple of other things that use the same abbreviation on other things in Google. But if you do, you can see the terrain maps, and you can see sort of what we're playing on, and a lot of other events around the UK, because the UKTC is such a big circuit, and they have kind of sort of standardised that terrain to the point where the TOs do also use it as well. So without further ado, let's run through my my Leicester result then. So I'm just getting up some notes on my phone here, just so we can sort of keep it quite structured. Now I'm going to try and keep this episode to an hour maximum. Hopefully, maybe it's even a bit less. Could be just a nice little bite-sized one, just to fill a gap. Before Aidan does his live stream, to presume will happen at the weekend. If it doesn't happen before this one goes live. So My first game was against Yanari, and it was Yanari. It was Yvrain. Obviously the dreaded. Oh God, brain's letting me down already. The dreaded. God, it's terrible. The dreaded avatar of something. The one that's not avatar of Kings. He's only hits hard. The avatar that jumps in and pops up. God. Everyone will be screaming at the TV thinking this. God, I can't believe I can't even think of which avatar it is. I feel like I should use Google here, but I'm sure people know this, and I'm sure it's the tip of my tongue because he comes up again later as well. This particular model. It's the one where when a model dies, they get to. It's the Incarn. Sorry. So I don't know why Avatar was in my head, but Incarn, sorry. So people, like I say, I'm talking to a computer screen just on my own in a room, so it does feel a bit mental. So so apologies for that there, guys, that I slipped that. So the Incarn, you probably already guessed that's what it was. That's what it was. The Incarn was in the list. He had 3 units of Scourges, which are kind of like... They're made of paper, which is one of the reasons why this game in particular, I missed the Plague Burst Crawlers, but they have a Darkland Siege, which is effectively a las cannon. It's an anti-vehicle gun, and they're very good. They still get the Fate Dice as well in Yanari, so obviously they can spike them when they need to. He had an array of sort of fast-moving troops and things that, played the mission, and a couple of other bits in there as well. If people really care, I can probably try and put the notes in the comments. But the most important thing is we're talking about mistakes and things like that. Now, anyone who knows, Aidan, for example, did a really good video on how to beat Eldar, and I'd recommend anyone goes and watches that if they're listening to this and would like to know more about how Death Guard play into Eldar, because it's a great example. Now, of course, that video does heavily talk about Plague Burst Cores and assumes that Plague Burst Cores in the list, which... as my list proves, not every Death Guard list does. So we're going to talk a little bit in this episode about how to combat it when you don't have it, basically. So let's start with that then. So my initial tactic going into this game here was, now I knew it was going to be quicker than me. So my initial tactic was I thought I could play a passive game. Now I thought, I've got a lot more primary scoring units than he does. This isn't the big bad, Eldar list. There isn't going to be a Wraithguard brick or, anything like that. Though we did have a couple of Night Spinners, so they were in attendance. Night Spinners as well, for those who haven't played it, I didn't realise, reduced -2 move on anything they shoot. It's not just infantry, which was a bit of a shock to me. I didn't realise that, so that caught me off guard. So my fast-moving carnivores weren't as fast. And what happened was the game kind of played as it wanted. So I took Teleport Homers and Cleanse. I made a big mistake here though, and the big mistake was because it was the mission where there's 3 objects in the middle. I knew we were going to have to fight for the mid board, so I thought primary was going to be key here. And I thought even if I don't score great on the primary, I think I can get a 2 each turn, being that Morty will go at the left in cover. With the 10 Plague Marines backing him up, and they'll just stand behind there all game, and I'll own that, and I'll own the one in my deployment zone, and that'll be 2 objectives for 10 points. And then the one in the middle, I'll just keep flinging 5 Plague Marines or something onto it, and the one on the far right, I'll do the same, and then just suck up his primary and try and hold 5s. And then as long as I do okay on that primary, on my secondaries, and the primary plan goes as hoped, I thought I'd be able to squeak out a win. Or maybe at least have a close game. As it pans out, that didn't happen, and I got I lost. Wouldn't say badly, because obviously how I played it. I did score points, but it was a big loss. I think it was something like 95 to him to like 63 to me. So it was a bad loss. Now the mistakes I made. One was I took Teleport Homers, but then didn't stack the middle. Basically, I focused too much on the left and right objectives, thinking that he wouldn't put anything in the middle because I had 3 Predators lined up in the middle, and I would be able to clear anything he put in there because he's just, that particular build doesn't have anything sort of durable that goes in the middle, apart from the Avatar. But I had a couple of carnivores, within sort of like striking range, so the Avatar doesn't also want to be shot by Predators. 3 Predators shooting at the Avatar, plus a carnivore in combat probably should kill him, to be honest. It would be a bit of a misplay for him to bring it in there and let me do that. But that would be something I would deal with. So obviously I forgot. Well, not obviously. I forgot about Phantasm, of course. So I line my predators up. So turn one, he went before me. I think he went first. So I sort of on my first turn, which would have been leaning into his second. He didn't put anything in the middle. So I was like, okay, I don't need to worry about the middle this turn. Just shut down the primer on the left and right. Score my teleport homes in the middle, and I'll be fine. That's all I need to do. Of course, I forgot that he can Phantasm, and he Phantasmed into the middle after the end of my movement phase, but I didn't put my Predators out into the line of sight. I kept them in cover, because I was worried about the Dark Lances on his Scourges popping out, because he would have been able to get lines if I could get lines on him. So the mistake was he was able to get up on the primary and get points I hadn't expected him to get. And also because I hadn't stacked the middle with enough stuff, he was able to sort of start attacking the things that I was going to score my teleport homers with, and kind of take that away from me. So that was kind of the two big mistakes in that game that kind of cost me really, and it kind of unfolded from there. Now, we also talked at the end of this game, me and my opponent. My opponent was quite good. He'd come third at the League Super Major earlier in the year, and he said he consistently goes 4-1 at events. So I asked his opinion on what I did, what I should have, if my tactic was even sound at all, and he thought I should have deployed on the line and gummed up the board at him, just ran at him basically, and worked on the assumption that because the Scourges could kill 3 carnivores, but they could also kill no carnivores. They were a bit whiffy, it turned out, with them sort of. I don't think they could use Strands of Fate. Maybe they weren't as efficient as they would be from the Eldar, because Ynnari has rules where they can't do some stuff. He explained to me that I think they still got the reroll, but they maybe couldn't use Fate dice or something. I think that might have been it. I can't actually remember exactly what it was, but they weren't as efficient as I expected them to be. And when they did shoot at things, there were a couple of times they did whiff. So he thought I should have just gummed up the board, rushed at him, and then sort of brought the fight into his deployment zone, and then sort of working on the assumption that once I took out the Scourges, there was only really the Avatar that could hurt the armor in my list, which was kind of what I was trying to sort of play for my passive game. But when he explained that I think that was the right thing to do. So those were the mistakes in that game. Now round 2, so I'm at a loss at this point. But I hadn't expected. I'd gone into this tournament expecting 3-2, so I wasn't particularly sort of worked up about the loss, to be honest. I went in the car. In the car, and we're talking about. I saw the first three night spinners in the in-car, and I thought, she just met her Eldar. But it was only when we sort of were talking about in the hotel the night before, and we're having dinner and stuff with Aidan, Dave, and Matt, who went down with us. We kind of ran through it properly and went, oh, actually, it's not as bad. So, like I say, and then maybe I should have. But anyway, that's that game. That's in the rearview mirror now. So we're moving into round 2. Now round 2 is where I played against Black Templars. Now the Black Templars list was a little bit like sorry, trying to get my words out. Was a little bit like my list in the sense that it wasn't the cookie cutter meta list that you would expect. Now the guy that I played against, he said that he would normally go 4-1 at events, but he did admit himself he'd normally take maybe something a bit more on the meta. Now says he didn't have any whirlwinds, so this is where mine and his list both had the same problem, where we could only kill things that we could see, and this was a mission where you get points for killing. So kill and kill more, hold and hold more is the mission. So I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Should get the booklets out really, but people, there's only one mission who does that, so people will be able to work out which one we're talking about here. Now, this game, I don't think I actually made that many mistakes, if I'm to be honest. This game unfolded quite well. I got a little bit lucky with some dice, but at the same time, I also went second in this game, which turned out to be huge. So the way I played this, I took tactical this time, took cards, because he took fixed. He took bring it down and teleport homers. Now, when people take fixed against me, I've come to the conclusion it's better to take tactical against them. The reason being is I can control what they're doing, but they can't really control what my scoring is, and I can kind of rush the board. And again, hit points so I can just sort of like deny primary. Sorry, not deny primary, but deny their secondary. It's like if there's a point in the game we can kind of see where you get up to a certain level where as long as I just hide the vehicles from them, bring it down can sometimes sort of be a trap, if I'm far enough up on the primary. And that's kind of what this one did. Now, I did late game, I think I probably should have hid the vehicles a bit sooner, actually. I think I gave him maybe 6 points that I didn't need to. I got a bit too focused on trying to kill his stuff when I didn't need to. But again, this was a kill and kill more mission. And this is kind of where this is how I won it, basically. So, on his first turn, I deployed Morty right on the edge of the line, right in the diagonal slant. It was diagonal deployment where Morty was going to get to the objective nearest to his deployment zone, but not the one that's in it. And I knew that if I put that there, he'd have to sort of put lines to get on Morty, basically. And I kind of had the Predators waiting to sort of like fire down the line in response. And what he did is he pushed the aggressors out at me. Now, the aggressors, if people don't know, they're the new big bad boys in the new Space Marine book, because they've got like lethal hits and I think it's dev wounds, and they're basically just throw loads of like crappy little shots at you, but just drown you in dice, and that's how they kind of bring you down, basically. And that's what he planned to do with more time. So he pushed 6 of them forwards, and they were supported by a character, and Morty just bossed all his saves, basically. So this is where Morty can be a bit of a beast. Morty just made all his fours. I did feel a bit bad for the guy, because I mean he was rolling average at this point. There were some later turns when his dice kind of crapped the bed a little bit, but this one particularly he rolled pretty well. But then Morty I think I had to make 15 4-up saves and made 13 of them, and then when I rolled the 5-up fail no pains, he failed like 2, and I think it was like 2 damage as well. So it was kind of one of these ones where my opponent probably should have killed Morty but didn't, but that didn't mean that he didn't get a kill on his first turn. What happened is I'd set the cultists in the middle, because when you play fixed, I talked about this in the previous episode, so you play tactical, sorry, not fixed, when you play the cards. There's a few cards where you have to have units stand in the middle to score them, or to score them in full. And the only unit that can get there really is a cultist when they pre-move into the middle, because Nurglings can't move through walls, because Swarmers can't, which is something that I'd played wrong in a couple of the earlier RTTs in this series. And to be fair, there was quite a lot of people playing them wrong at the event, it turned out. Aiden's player, who he played against, who actually won the event, didn't realise you could do it until Aiden corrected him. Like I say, it just goes to show there's a few hangovers still from 9th edition. So the cultists move forward. Now this is something that Aiden's talked about, and I kind of stole his thunder a little bit on this. Or not stole his thunder, but I copied something that he'd said. So because the cultists in the middle and he pushed the aggressors forward to get range on Morty, what I did is I pushed my cultists to get a Boil Blight on the squad. Now what I did is, because obviously Boil Blight works per activation instance, so there's 3 predators about to shoot them next, I put the Contagion to make it work, so I could get the extra AP on the character who was attached to the squad. So it didn't matter who we picked up, his character we picked up last, all 3 of the Predators were going to get that buff. So the Predators, when they shoot at infantry, they're -1 anyway, they get an extra -1, making it -2. I took the Contagion where I reduced their save, so they were -3 effectively at that point, and then I put an extra one, so -4. Now we did get cover, but the -3 AP with the flat 3 damage shots come from the turret, and then the last cannon shots coming from the sponsons, and then the chip damage from the bolter and Havoc launcher. I picked up the whole squad, including the character, and that got me a kill and kill more, which put him 8 points in the hole, because I don't think he didn't bring it down on his first turn, didn't kill more. He did get teleport homes, but only for 3. But I scored, I can't remember what the 2 cards were, to be honest. I should have made notes of this, but I scored, I think I got a 5 and a 3 on the cards I got here. So basically at this point it was like 16-3 just from my first turn, and at that point we can sort of speed through this particular. It just unravelled where I had too big a lead, and even though he did start to kill the vehicles and sort of clawed it back, I was too far ahead on the primary. And every turn I got lucky with, he got a bit unlucky with some things he should have killed, and I was able to get kill more pretty much every turn. And then in the final turns I was even holding more as well, because he'd lost so many units. So it was kind of one of them ones where he was a good player, but the dice let him down, basically. This was the harsh reality of it. It wasn't it wasn't sort of anything he could do after a certain point. A few times when he had a glimpse to get back in the game and going to kill more, he whiffed a couple of important shots and things like that, or Morty or one of the Knights bossed a 4 or 5 up save, and it was one of these things where he just wasn't able to claw his way back from the lead I've got in the start. So moving past that one then. So the third game was against Imperial Guard. Now this one was a good one. So I played against a guy before. I played against one of his friends, I think, at a different UKTC event. We had a bit of banter afterwards, and he was a really good guy. We remembered each other from that instance, and we were just having banter with each other, and it was a really fun game. All my opponents this weekend were great guys. Like there was a judge's call, I think, in the first game against the Eldari player, where I wasn't sure he could pile into something, and even though the call's actually made in my favour, I mean, it was a bit of a silly call from my point of view because it didn't matter. I'd already lost the game, but like you do, you sort of convince yourself it matters, and you might get in, and might be the point you lose the game by or something. But I was, even though it was called in my favour, the guy was really no problem. We continued to play, continued to just be friendly with each other, and it was really good. It was one of those games where one of those events where everyone was just really nice to play against. And the guard game particularly was absolute. Top guy. Like I really enjoyed this game, and it was an absolute nail biter, to be honest. So it was a guard list with a Rogel Dawn, I think 2 or 3 Lehman Russes. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3. The Lehman Russes would have been tank commanders, or the battle cannons, or the demolisher cannons. There were, sorry. He also had 2 basilisks at the back. Maybe another tank, can't remember. And then one's got a 6 Bulgrin, one's got a 3 Bulgrin. Is it Gorn's Ghosts, I think, are the character squad that get loaned up and kind of pick up and move around. And there's one big squad of infantry, and then a couple of just sort of solo characters. So it's a bit of it wasn't necessarily in the most meta guard list. It was lacking, I think, in maybe some years to play the mission, which is kind of how I came to win the game, basically. So basically, I mean, this game came down to a 10-inch charge at the end, which he failed with a reroll, which I was quite relieved about. So I won by 2 points. If he'd have made the charge, I think he'd have won by 3. So I was a bit lucky in that sense. So basically, I pushed Morty forward, deployed Morty in the line again. I went to the objective nearest to my deployment zone. Now, there isn't really a way on this mission with that army where Morty can be sort of hidden because of his wings. You put him long ways, and there's an angle sort of either way, basically. So Morty kind of went there, and I just hoped he'd tank some shooting and kind of bait out his stuff and make him commit to one flank, which he did. He did commit to one flank, but Morty did not tank his shooting this turn. This was one of the games where Morty decided. I mean, to be fair, I joked about it with the opponent. I was like, Morty had been such a tank in the last game where Morty should have died about 4 times over and just lived forever. So this time Morty did the complete opposite, and it was fair. But across the 2 games, the dice were probably average. Really good ones and really bad ones, kind of averaging it out. So that kind of put him on the front foot, and then I think something else died as well in the first. I can't remember what it was now. I think he killed a knight with the outer line of sight shooting from the basilisks. And it was kind of the end of his first turn. It was looking a bit sad for me. I'd lost a big chunk of my army, but at the same time, I could see if I could take some big chunks from his army. He was kind of. I had more assets. I had more little skirmishing units than he did, whereas he had his sort of stuff tied into a few big units. So I took a bit of a risk. I pushed the carnivore out with a squad of plague marines. Now the squad of plague marines, I think I drew good cards. I think I had to take 2 objectives in the middle. I needed the plague marines to do one anyway, but they also put the Lehman Russ in contagion, which put an extra, minus its safe by 1 and also reduced its toughness by 1. So when the carnivore came in, the carnivore was effectively Ep4 into it and was wounding on 3s instead of 4s, which, sorry, it wasn't the Lehman Russ, it was the Rogel Dawn, sorry. The big Rogel Dawn that he pushed to the middle. So he basically tried to do what I do more. Just put a big model there. It's really hard to kill. And I thought, well, I'm going to have a go. And I pushed and the carnivore took it down by itself in one go with the plague marines buffs. I think I put some chip shots from the plague marines as well into it. Oh, the plague marines actually charged it as well. That was it. The plague marines just did some chip shots, on the plasma gun and stuff. I think it maybe chipped 2 wounds, wasn't very impressive. The Carnivore killed it, I think, down to 1 wound, left 1 wound, and then the Plague Marine swung. The lethal hits on 6s from the heavy plague weapons were enough to go through it and plink off that final wound, which I was quite relieved about. And then I think the Predators, I think I shot into one of the Lehman Russes and left it on 2, maybe 4 or 5 wounds. So it was kind of a bit fragile. So from that point, he'd lost a couple of big things. And then we started to trade, basically. The rest of the game was just trading. It was just he killed something, I killed something. And I kind of got the point. I realised late game that if I had a couple of like random Bulgin left in single model units and stuff, that I realised I had to kill in the final turn to sort of stop him. And the final turn, he kind of did this. Now, the sticky objectives in this game were massive. It was actually sticky objectives because he was able to kill things off objectives, but he wasn't able to then put something on in response because he had to keep his assets to the late game for the last turn. So it meant that I was able to get up on the primary and even score some secondaries, hold certain objectives and stuff that perhaps I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So it was sticky objectives with clutch in this. The most clutch I've ever seen them with Death Guard, to be honest, or certainly in my games at least. But yeah, so I think with this one, I'm trying to think if there was anything that I did sort of particularly wrong here. Now, I don't know. Maybe I should have been a bit more cagey with Morty and sort of made him commit first, and then sort of got the trades going. Because as it happens, I mean, Morty made him commit to a flank, and we did talk of maybe over-committed to that flank, and then it meant it was hard for him to get to the middle, because there was one where there was 4 objectives across the middle, we split the middle into 2. So it meant that he was kind of struggling to get the rest of the board because he'd focused too much on one flank, and I was able to keep him busy in that corner. So maybe in that sense, maybe throwing Morty out did, win me the game. But in terms of the killing and the trading, Morty could have not done anything the first turn, stood there, because I didn't score the point that Morty was on. Morty died without, any kind of trade in response. So, because everything he moved, he would have moved anyway. So that might have been, a point there. And there's one more I rapid ingressed a Carnivore in as well, actually. And he got super lucky with his Overwatch. He Overwatched because I put it in where he had 1 Lehman Rush in line. He was only Overwatching on 6s, so I was willing to take that chance. He Overwatched, he hit with quite a few 6s, more than his average, and then he took half its life off, and then he finished it with the Basilisk and took it down to 6 wounds. That Carnivore, if it had lived, would have killed that Lehman Rush quite reliably, I think, because it had took a couple of chip damage from Predator shots, and then he'd have lost an asset in that corner, and I think that might have been game at that point. So the fact he got lucky killing my Carnivore on Overwatch, and then without a line of sight shooting, kind of, kept it a nail biter. But at the end of the game, we were both. I think he was a bit frustrated that he'd lost by 2 points, as you would be. I think when you could take any chance you can sort of see the win potentially sort of there, and the points were swinging backwards and forwards for me and him, and we were both really enjoying. We were both helping each other out and having like great banter with each other as well. So absolute brilliant game, and I felt very lucky to have got the 2-point win from that. So the day finished 2-1, in my favour. So after the kind of the not the best start, it did kind of turn around, which I was quite happy about. And then when we got the hotel, the parents went up quite late. We were eating, and we got Drew. Everyone was talking about their list, and I was like, I better do mine then. And of course, I had the big bad boy Eldar list, literally the meta Eldar list, cookie cutter, everything you'd imagine, the Wraithguard brick, 3 Night Spinners, Warp Spiders, the 2, basically, I'm sure anyone who's ever been to a tournament or even follows the meta remotely knows exactly what I'm talking about. And this, for my army, without Plague Burst Crawlers, was... I basically went to bed, I'd laughed it off. I'd said, look, I'm only expecting to go 3-2 anyway with this list, so let's be real. This is obviously where I'm going to get the second loss, and hopefully the last game, maybe so I'll get lucky. So I went to bed, and I was thinking, do I play a passive game and just try and score as many points as I can, and just sort of, try and think of where I end up in the overall tournament ranking? Then I started thinking, well, if I'm going to win, my first opponent had said to me, it isn't Eldari, deploying the line, bum rush. That's what I should have done here. So I think, well, maybe should I do this? Should I go with it? So I I asked some outside opinions. A gentleman called Ed Watts, who people might know from the Glasshammer streams and things. He's one of the Glasshammer guys. Lovely guy. I speak to him a bit at events. We've played him a couple of times. Played on his team as well. He's a really great guy. Also Mike Duff as well. Give him a shout out. I spotted those guys before the event. They're both really good players. They would often sort of finish on podiums. If not sort of taking out events themselves. So I told them what I had, and they were like, "Well, you play burst course here," and I said, "No, I don't have play burst course." And all right, well, you're just going to lose, aren't you? And I said, "Well, should I just deploy on the line?" They were like, "Well, I don't know," and they were like, "Well, could you win any other way?" And I was like, "No," and then they were like, "Well, it's singles, isn't it? It's a singles event, it's not teams, so it's you here to win or lose. So what have you got to lose?" And I was like, "Well, I suppose." So basically, between the two of them, I was talked into deploying on the line, and I felt so naked doing so. I went with it, but I also sort of confided to my fate at this point. I was like, if I deploy on the line, nothing in cover, and get to go first and push to the mid board, he has to then also whiff a turn of shooting for me to sort of like even be in this game, and then we've got a game basically. So I did it. I got to roll the go. So first we both rolled a 6 for first turn, then we rolled again. I rolled another 6. No, actually, no, I think I rolled a 4 actually, because one of us definitely rolled a 4. Rolled a 4, I think he rolled a 2 or less than a 4 anyway. And then I got first. So at this point, I was like, right, it's starting. So I rolled some big advances. Everything in my army that could advance, even the Predators advanced. They advanced onto points in the mid board. Everything advanced. I left my home field objective open. No, I think 2 Predators hung back on the home field. Everything advanced. Plague Marines in Rhinos. I put all the chaff in reserve, so no Nurglings on the board, no cultists on the board. As I've talked about in previous episodes, you can put Plague Marines in and jump into Rhinos. So I have the 2 Plagues that come fit in Rhinos. I put them in reserve, an outflank, sorry. And nothing was on the board. It wasn't a vehicle. And I pushed to the middle. And then, that was my turn, basically. And I took cards in this one as well, because, again, he took fixed, he took bring it down and teleport. So I knew, as I've said before, that if I did that, I don't think I had to... This time I felt I had to win on secondaries and primary. Now, he pushed his... he phantasmed his Wraith Guard turn 1, because I'd advanced everything, because I couldn't shoot anything at all. Now... One of the things also, I'm going to sort of drop this in quickly, my first round opponent said he was really glad he didn't bring the Wraith Guard brick because of my 3 Predators. And this is the thing that I might have done wrong in this game. I did not shoot the Wraith Guard even once. I just pretended they weren't there. I ignored them because I know how they shoot back at you and all that stuff. So I was like, well, I'm just going to accept they're going to pick up whatever they want. And I'm just going to have to try and make it so to kill any chaff, anything I can, just take all his scoring units away, make it so he's got to start playing the mission with the Wraith Guard and the Night Spinners was my idea. Maybe I should have shot them though, because at the end of the game he commented how scared he was of the Predators when he'd seen the night before. He said that was the only thing in my list that remotely worried him. Everything else he thought was going to be a walkover. And to be fair, it should have been a walkover. I took a gamble, and the gamble paid off because he did whiff his first turn of shooting with the Wraith Guard. He then summoned the Incarn. I took the -1 contagion, -1 weapons and ballistic skill contagion here. He did summon the Incarn, who fought Morty and did 4 wounds to Mortarion. The Wraith Guard also shot Mortarion, and Mortarion, basically I think the end of this, Mortarion lived on like 6 wounds. Moved in the middle, took his primary away, and then because he bought the Incarn out, Mortarion did also hit the Incarn back. I think took 8 wounds off him. Oh, not 8, no, I think it was 6? I think he got 3 wounds through, luckily. It was he whiffed his saves a bit. So like I say, I took a gamble, he whiffed his first turn, and then from this point on we played a tight game. So I just had to kill anything I could get to, and just try and suck up all the primary. But it was a mission where at the end you get 5 points for every objective you stand on, and he was basically playing to stand on all the objectives at the end. So we worked out. Now this game, I don't know if shooting the Wraith Guard or not would have been a mistake or the right thing to do. Part of me thinks afterwards he said he thinks he should have done, but then because they get to shoot back within 18, I think it would have meant I'd had to push away from them. So I don't know. So it's a weird one. Now I actually won this game by 2 points. Now the way I won this game by 2 points, this is the one that turns into a draw later, and I'll explain why. Now, I actually wanted the draw on this. He was happy to let me. We made an error with the scoring, so at the end of my turn 4, start of my turn 5. Basically, I said to him, like, look, what I want to do here is I want to add the scores because he was keeping track. Because at the start of this game, I didn't think I had a chance in hell of winning it, so I thought there was no point in me keeping track of the score. And then I just got so focused on trying to score points, I didn't know what the score was. I knew I was up, but I didn't know by how much. So I said, look, can we total the score up now? What I want to do is I'm going to total the score up. You tell me what you've got, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say what I think you can get. So, for example, in the end, I was like, you're gonna max bring it down. He hadn't quite maxed it yet. He had to kill like 2 or 3 more vehicles, but at this point, everything was kind of like on 1 or 2 wounds, or he was about to like push into it with like the full squad of Wraith Guard and stuff like that. So he could have basically picked it up pretty comfortably, near enough. There was one though that he maybe couldn't have done, but anyway, so I max it on, bring it down. So max it on, bring it down, and then we did teleport home as what you could get. At this point, my backfield was as open as anything could be, so we got another 4 on that. I think teleport home has worked out like 13. I don't know what he got. He had one turn we didn't get at all, I don't think. So teleport home has let him down a little bit. I think it was like 14 or something. I don't know. Can't remember. So anyway, so I was like, right, what did you get? And he was like, well, at the end, we reckoned he'd have 4. Well, he'd have four objectives in the middle. So which works out at an extra 20 points. And now with that, we worked out at the time I was going to be 2 points up. So we're like, at that point, I was like, look, mate, like, because I drew my cards already. I was like, and I drew one again because we'd agreed that that's what his score would be, like on a max D. Couldn't get any better than that. So I said, well, I'm just going to beat your max score now, and then you can just have that. So this is we're playing it all through properly. I give him the most generous we could do it, and then I drew a card, but I redrew and got cleanse, and that was actually the points that swung it, because I was already going to lose by 1. Then I could have cleansed 2 and pushed a carnivore in the middle, but that was going to give him the max on bring it down. So he did still score those points, but anyways, but at the end I said, well, I don't need to do that. I don't think it matters. Now, there was contention here though, because he accidentally scored me 5 more points on primary than I should have got. So based on that, I would have had to push the carnivore into the middle to get those extra 5 points for me to win by 2 points. If the carnivore lives, then that score is accurate. Job done. But we didn't do that. We didn't know. We thought because he'd give me the extra 5 points, and it was actually pointing out halfway through the lunch break when I'd sort of, I couldn't believe my luck of winning by 2. It was actually Ed Watts. He'd been speaking to Ed Watts, who's a mutual friend of him too. The guy who sort of suggested kind of helped me talk in the tactics, and I told them, well, I owe him a beer. So I did buy his beer. He was very happy with that. But they realised it gave me 5 extra prime, and now he kind of said, obviously, with that 5 extra taken off, he wins by 3, and I was like, well, but at the same time, then I push that carnivore in the middle, I get an extra cleanse, and what I'll do is, I'll, if you shoot it, and it lives, I get that, and you might even lose your bring it down. It's a 5 up. There's only one thing that could really shoot it. It was the super shoot Eldar character. And so we basically said, well, it'd be a 5 up re-rollable save, which if I make it, then this score is accurate. I might even get a little bit more, so it'd be my win. He's like, yeah, but what are the odds of you making a 5 re-rollable? He said the odds are still kind of in his favour. I think it's like 60-40 to him. So I was like, look, mate, but then at the same time, Ed Watts was kind of there, me getting something like that. But I was like, I don't know what to do. And Ed was like, he said that he thought it should still be a win to me, because you've made the mistake. They're about to draw the next round. You both should probably just learn, and we'll go buy him a beer. And I was like, I don't want to sit on this podcast and talk and say, but I won by 2 points, but actually didn't. So I was like, well, I also didn't want to roll a dice and see if I got a 5 re-rollable. So I said, right, mate, let's just call it a draw based on on the score. And we kind of talked to him. We agreed that was the fairest. Again, the master of draws I seem to be, but in this particular instance, it was the fairest result, because I could still win, but we need to roll dice, and I didn't at that point want to roll the dice 40 minutes afterwards that I thought I'd won. And he didn't want to think. He was also very polite. He did also say if I wanted to keep the win, he wouldn't mind, because he did fully acknowledge it was his mistake on the score. But as I said, so we both agreed, and we both felt very gentleman. At the end, he actually came and found me and sort of, was really nice and just said how much he appreciated that, and he felt it was the gentleman's outcome to the situation, which I think in terms of fair play is the best. Now, I actually think it might have helped me this in the last round as well, because at this particular big event, the final 2 rounds, you play the person who's next to you in terms of win, losses and points. So being on 2.5 wins actually put me down. So again, maybe there's a little bit of submarining went on here from my point of view, but the pairings are random. There's still loads of people in the hall. And in the last game, I actually played a Death Guard mirror. Now, the last game I played was an absolute gentleman, I've got to say. Really enjoyed it. It was a long game, so I think there was a bit where I was getting a bit tired. I was full of the cold as well. I think I got a bit tetchy with some nurglings I didn't think could score. But I think the 100% could. And I could tell, he could see I was, I think, tired. And he was like, look, come on, mate. And I was like, yeah, you're right, sorry. But it was a great game, really close. And his list was also off meta, this Death Guard list. It's kind of also painted a bit differently from the standard green. My Death Guard's black with random coloured shoulder panels, like the 90s paint scheme on the front of the Plastic Marines box, if anyone's old enough to remember that. So his was like a grey scheme, and it was good. He had 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, sorry, one with the Flamers, 2 with Entropy Cannons, 1 Predator, and Typhus, 2 squads of Death Shroud, I think 25 Plague Marines. I think maybe he had 30, I'm not sure. His play was different, 2 Chaos Lords, and I think that was it. Oh no, 2 squads of Cultists as well, and I'm trying to think if anything else. But he was a good player anyway, a lovely guy as well. He played Vic Vijay, and said apparently had a really close game. The Vic had, I think, squeaked it by a couple of points, but the fact he'd run Vic to the line, shows the calibre of player this guy is. Now, the Death Guard mirror is obviously pretty weird because our contagions are a bit, don't know how you'd word it. Contagions kind of just nullify each other, but also like make whoever does the first punch if you both take the AP one, like whoever does the first punch is kind of got a massive advantage. Now I realise, and this is where I won the game, but not because I'm a superior Death Guard player, because I kind of realised in my build, because this is where the builds were different, I had an advantage over his build if I took the contagion that no one ever takes, which is a -1 OC, because it's -1 per model. My carnivores are OC 8, so his Plague Marines, for example, are OC 10. But if I take one of each Plague Marine, become OC 5, and carnivores just stand on a point, take off the Plague Marines. So I realised I was going to try and play a primary, same with Morty. Make Morty OC, would have made Morty's OC 6, Plague Marines go from OC 10, OC 5, Morty holds it. So this was my plan. Now Morty, again, did everything he'd done every game, he pushed the middle. We were kind of joking it was like Morty versus Typhus as well, because that was the thing. And Morty in this matchup died. He died the softest in any of the games. I think he also hit like a wet noodle. He did score me some points, don't get me wrong, but he went to the centre, fought a blow drone with a flesh mower, and the blow drone did more wounds to Morty than Morty did to the blow drone, which was quite comical, really. But at the same time, played the same game. I just played for the primary, tried to kill all his chaff, so he had to start playing the primary big things. We're trading quite evenly. He rolled pretty good. He had one turn where he kind of like, there was one term where I thought if I get 10 primary on this particular objective, held him to 5. I think at that point, doesn't really matter what he does, I probably unfold to win to me with a couple of points. He was able to he's really smartly though, just put everything he could and just threw all the chaff in the world, rolled loads of dice, rolled pretty hard. I whiffed my saves as well, and he picked up this 10-man squad, and that put me on the back foot big time. So that was, that was a close game basically. Now, I'm trying to work out here what I did wrong this game. So I've got some notes. I'm just going to recap as I So one of the things that I think I did wrong. Now, on my second turn, I thought about doing a rapid ingress with one of the carnivores. It could have come in a safe point, ran to an objective, and picked up one, if not one squad of Plague Marines that would have, then would have held the point, and it meant I could have kept my 10 man in a Rhino for another turn to sort of have my hammer unit still ready to punch, because the Rhino was, it was fine. The only things to get it were Plague Burst Crawlers, and then, even if I'd have got out, if I'd have spent a CP in the 6, I think they could have got out and not been seen and still got even closer to the objective. So I decided against this though, because it was his go term, and I had 2 CP, and I thought, well, he's coming with me combat, he's coming with me for a couple of years, and it was going to charge Morty and 1 knight, I think, and maybe something else. So I thought it was more important to keep my 2 C-Flash. I didn't rapid ingress, and then it also meant I didn't re-roll any saving throws. Not that it really would have mattered with Morty. Morty died. Morty died very embarrassingly in this game. He was, it's like to roll 1s and 2s on saves and then not make any feel no pains either. But anyway, so his go turn went, and he killed way more than I expected. So I didn't have any units to interrupt with. I meant I had CP to spend, don't get me wrong. It was good. I think the following turn it came in, because I was able to spend more CP on the 10 Plague Marines to give them the exploding hits, and also an extra AP in combat. So it did come in, but the Plague Marines overkilled what they went into, because they only went into, I think, 2 squads of 5 Plague Marines. They overkilled it massively, basically. So it was one of these sort of things where, even without the CP, I don't think it was needed. But if I had a rapid ingress like Carnivore, I would have traded the Carnivore for Plague Marines, because they also got the Predators down there. So I could have picked up, I think, both squads of Plague between the Predators and the Carnivore, and still have my 10-man squad and held the point. So I think, and then the chaff units, the chaff that killed the Plague Marines would have struggled a lot more to kill the Carnivore because of its toughness, and also the 5 Invum. So it was one of these ones where I think that was a big mistake on my part. But at the same time, had I sort of done an interrupt, Carnivore lived and the Carnivore swung first, maybe into Typhus' unit, or 5 Plague Marines elsewhere, or Morty or something, then maybe that probably would have still been the stronger plan. They just weren't there to do that because they already died. Also in this game came that he took Engage, which I thought was a bit of a mistake actually when he took it, but he was smart with it. I didn't realise he took Fix, so he took Engage and Homers, and what he did, he just attacked my deployment zone, which is a thing that Death Guard don't normally do, but I suppose especially in the mirror it makes sense, because it's not like I'm faster than him, although I was a little bit because of the Carnivores, but he just attacked it, and he got quite a lot of 4s on Engage on all fronts, and also on Teleport Homers, charging Nurglings into chaff just to get in my deployment zone that he bought from Deep Strike, sort of things sort of trying to fall back into my deployment zone to do Teleport Homers the next turn. It was smart play, to be honest, but I could have stopped a lot of those plays if I pushed out a bit more and kind of thought a bit more about Deep Strike and made it so even if his Nurglings charged, they couldn't charge into my deployment zone, unless they actually killed a Predator, which Nurglings are definitely not killing a Predator. So that was the big mistake there, I think. I think I should have thought more about his scoring, and after he'd done the trick to me once, I should have, not let it happen again. I should have responded instead of just kind of like, oh yeah, just letting it happen again. But, again, we talked about at the end, great guy. Great guy, lovely opponent, and like I say, really, really good game. So that's kind of where we got to. Well, we only actually played 4 turns as well, because I don't think either of us slow play. I think it was just the end of the game. We're both just a bit knackered. It had been a long weekend. I was full of cold as well. I was sniffing a lot and blowing my nose, and I think he was I think he said he was starting to feel like he was coming down with something as well. Maybe it was the two Death Guard armies on the tail. Maybe it was the fumes getting to us both. But we kind of, rather than trying to talk the 5th turn, he just scored it there and he submitted it. And I was, if he was happy with that, I was happy with that. I think, we played the 5th turn, I think, because I was up considerably by that moment, I think. Well, not considerably, only 6 or 7 points. But I was enough where if I just kept my lead there, it would be hard for him to close it. But at the same time, he was closing it. If he'd had another turn where he had big rolls and I'd whiffed a few saves, he could well have come back into it and maybe squeaked me by a point or two. So it's one of these ones where, I'm being honest about this on the stream, sort of, although we didn't play a 5th turn, I think the game ends probably how it did, with a smaller margin to me. And also, obviously, those fewer points, held me down in the overall rankings of the events. But I think we were both happy with the outcome of that one. It was a fair. He'd gone first, I'd gone second. It was a fair game, and he'd sort of suggested just calling it the fourth at the end of the fourth turn. It wasn't me trying to sort of push it on him or anything. And top opponent. So I'll try and bring this recording to a close then, and sort of round things off a little bit. That kind of summarises it, and hopefully I've kind of talked a bit more about the mistakes. The mistakes I make, I notice I'm making less of them, which is maybe why there's been less of them talked about in this one, which I suppose is probably as I'm using the same list. I've run through it a lot, and I'm trying to learn from the mistakes, same way I'm trying to put them on people. So I am noticing I'm trying to find it hard to sort of find things to talk about. But at the same time, I am still making lots of mistakes, and there'll be lots made the week, and there'll be lots more made this week and for the next episode, because I'm changing the list now. I'm someone, when I change a list, sometimes it just seems to be like I forget how to play the game, and everything just goes completely out the window. So hopefully that won't happen. But the list I've changed is, and I'll explain why, so people know for the next episode, and I'll recap then as well. I dropped Morty, which is something I'm not sure about, but I wanted to put Plague Burst Crawlers back in. Even if it's just to try them. So I put 2. So I've dropped Morty and the Predators. That's what I've dropped. Don't think I had to drop anything else. I'm trying to think if there was. I should just open the list, but no, it's those. And then what I brought in with them is 2 Predators, a Land Raider. I've stuck 2 of the Plague Marine squads to be 2 squads of 10. I want just to try that, really, just to see if it does make a difference. And I brought in an extra Foul Blight spawn as well. Now, we've talked on the episode with Quinton, actually, and I'm sure we'll talk again. On UKTC, I'm not sure you need 2 Foul Blight spawns, because there isn't 2 spaces to hide them and also be on an objective. So generally, I think one of the squads, 2 10-man squads could be right, because you've got 2 hammers then, but I think one of them, it's going to come out and it's going to get shot. Unless you're playing World Eaters, perhaps, and then it's probably the best thing in the world having 2 Foul Blight spawns. But in this particular terrain set, there's a lot more objectives that you can hide 2 squads on. Now, a lot of them you could probably only really hide 5 guys, not 10. So I do think I made a mistake, because the 5 men's are still loaded out with plasma gun, the plague, whatever the flame is everyone takes. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with the names. People who listen would know that by now. 2 heavy plague weapons, and the champion with the plasma gun and the heavy plague weapons. I actually think on the other 2 plague marines, I shouldn't have had the plasma gun and the flamer, and I should have just put 2 other plague weapons on. So even though they're only a 5-man squad, there's a lot of combat coming out of those squads, and it would still make sense to put the Foul Blight spawn on them, so they can kind of 5 of them can punch through most things on charges. I think that might be something that was a mistake for this particular tournament. But other tournaments, because this is a different terrain type, it's similar to UKTC, but they've got a couple more bits on the table, which is why there's more sort of cover. So that's why I've kind of put the second Foul Blight spawn in general. It's just, I do wonder if you'd be better attached to a 5-man, and then if I'm going to do that, I should make a 5-man combat focus to get the most sort of like out of that. I'm sorry, the other thing, I've also had an extra 2 biologist putrefiers. They're alright. Like I say, in the games I played, like they whiffed a little with the grenades, to be fair. Like the Death Guard mirror match, I think I threw 1 and spent a CP through another one. I think over the course of 2 throws did 3 mortal wounds. I was very kind of, is that it? But I know, they do also spike sometimes. I know people do. So I'm gonna play them and see. I want to try a Land Raider. In my head, the Land Raider is going to play like Morty. He's going to go on the line and start the trades. But also, the problem with this, though, I don't have the Predators kind of standing behind the line to sort of back him up. But of course, he has, the second 10-man Plague Marine. 1 can lurk and 1 can kind of use the assault ramp. And then the Land Raider still gives the guns that the Predators did have. So I don't know. I might have to rethink the strategy a bit. Maybe the Land Raider doesn't push forwards as much as Morty would normally. But the 2 Plague Burst Calls will just chip away at scoring units and matchups like Eldar and things where I might not be able to see them or sort of get to them otherwise. Because as much as I drew with Eldar, we'll call it, be honest, on that one, on the actual end result. As much as I drew with them, I did get lucky, and as much as that tactic paid off that time, I imagine if you did that sort of, say, out of 5 games, maybe it comes off once. Do you know what I mean? Because if he goes first, it's a complete disaster, and I'm, at the end of my turn too, I probably don't even need to do anything than just shake his hand and say, you tell me how much you've scored, and I'll go to the bar and cry. So the idea is to make it a bit more of a game into that. Also, World Eaters are in the meta quite heavily at the moment, as we've seen. I think they actually took out the event. They were certainly in the final of the Leicester GT. So the second foul blight spawn's probably quite big there. Orcs again, it's a really good one to have. And the Land Raider as well, what I did realise with the 5-man, the Land Raider could also cut off lines of sight because it's just a box. Now, you can't do it with the rhinos. I've seen people argue you can, but the tracks, if you get a torch and shine it through the tracks and around, you can see through them. So you can draw a line from the boots of your model if we're going to get really sort of pernickety and, R-holding millimetres. But Land Raiders don't have that, so you can use a Land Raider to sort of screen off Marines, which is something that I'm thinking I might try, maybe it's in a couple of games, especially maybe it's against like shooting matchups like World Eaters, or maybe it's not matches with limited shooting. World's a bad example because they've got next to none. Maybe something like Orcs where they've probably got 1 or 2 big shooting units, so they can kill the Land Raider, and then when they go to charge, they've got a charge to fight first Plague Marines, which benefits me. So this is niche stuff which we'll see if it unfolds, if it even needed. It could well be that at the end of this that I enjoyed the other one more, I find that I've used it more, and as much as it's not maybe it's the most optimal list for other people, it's optimal for me. And this list I'm running, I still don't think is the most optimal. I still like Liam VSL's list, if I'm to be totally honest, and I keep trying to sort of make ways to try to make it my own or put my own spin in it, so I'm not just copying net lists. But it's still got the 3 carnivores kind of pushing forwards, kind of doing that. It still sucks at the primary. It still hits pretty hard in combat. It has probably the same amount of shooting, but just in different areas. And then obviously the mortal wounds from the foul, from the Bolly's Putrefiers, and the second foul blight spawns a little bit of shooting there actually. So we'll see. So that's the recap from this one. Just sort of do some bit of housekeeping. So please subscribe. We are going to update Spotify. We're just sort of squaring off some images. It took a lot longer than we expected, and then we'll just schedule all the stuff that's not on there to get up to date, and going forward everything will be on there. Aidan is of course going to do a live stream to recap on his rather impressive performance. So I think Aidan's going to post the results from Leicester, because it is a super major, you get a lot of points. Aidan finished 15th, I think I was 37th, out of I think 200 plus people. So Aidan is number 1 in the world again, and he's number 1 in the UK. I'm number 2 in the UK, and I think 12th in the world now. But like I say, it's all good to me. I'm happy with that, and I know Aidan's over the moon with his performance as well. So Aidan will do his recap, and then next week we're going to start doing some episodes together again. And what we're going to do is, I think we've got a couple of ideas. One is we might cover the hot takes from the new books, Necrons, Abmech, and just talk about how Death Guard maybe need to pivot their list builds, or some units that could do well or not too well into them, and kind of just do it, just from broad strokes, because obviously once they've been out in the wild for a bit, and people have settled on the meta list, Aidan will of course do his sort of faction deep dive and his Perfect Plague series, but we might do a hot takes episode before then, just to kind of cover the sort of the intermediate with that, or cover the gap. And then we've got some other bits of content we're going to do, and we'll also get some guests back as well. Obviously, I met Death Guard Dave for the first time there, and a lovely fella. So we might get him back on and do like a 3-way roundtable talk with him. Obviously, as I had mentioned, we've got plans to get Stephen Box on at some point. Obviously to come talk maybe it's a bit more general in the game, and talk about obviously the stuff that those guys do at Vanguard Tactics, where Aidan's also a coach. But I feel like I'm starting to ramble now, so hopefully you've enjoyed this. Like I say, I'm slowly becoming more of a Plague Marine. Obviously we'll do a recap after Bolton. Bolton could go completely disastrous, but if it does, this is, I want to get the information, see how I do with Land Raiders. Is it good, is it not? I know some people are saying they're good. I want to try 3 Biologist Putrefiers, try it, and also try Plague Marines and 2 10-man squads. So at the end of it, I'll have some information, see if I miss the Predators, see if I miss Morty, and maybe there's some kind of hybrid list between the two, or maybe it's maybe it's Liam VSL's list I'll end up pivoting to, because I've got a version where I've copied it but made some select changes, shall we say, that I think might work. But it does tie back to the Land Raider, because I think a Land Raider could fit in that list. But we'll try it this one. If the Land Raider is good, it's good. If it's crap, then, you know, at least over 5 games I'll have an honest opinion on it, you know, based on personal experience. But anyway, so I'm going to leave that there. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Like I say, next time you hear my voice, it'll likely be with Aidan doing one together. And then, you know, I'll do another solo episode after Bolton. But again, thanks for listening. Of course, we are very close to the 30k subscribers. One last thing before we go. Obviously, Aidan's promised that he'll take a wacky list to an RTT that we'll create as part of our live stream. We're very, very, very close to that. So tell your friends, you know, set up a second YouTube account so you can give us 2 likes on the one, and then, you know, when we've done that, come join us on the live stream where we torture Aidan with a 3 magnet malignifier list, or 3 plague surgeons, whatever wacky ideas we can think of, and as a chat we're going to get you to pick that and help us make that list. So lots of stuff come from the channel, and catch you next one, guys.